John Kennedy exposes Van Hollen's hidden agenda. Congress erupts. The chamber was heavy with silence, the kind that feels like a storm is about to break. All eyes darted between the two men: Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, sitting calm but razor-sharp, and Senator Chris Van Hollen, shifting ever so slightly in his chair, his lips pressed tight as if holding back a secret. Washington had seen heated debates before, but what was about to unfold would leave the Senate floor in chaos and the nation reeling. It began with the simple bill, at least that's what Van Hollen wanted everyone to believe. A proposal dressed in noble words, coded with the kind of language that made it sound like it was written for the people. It promised fairness, protection, and greater opportunity. But Kennedy, the son of Louisiana soil, who knew the value of plain talk and honesty, had a knack for cutting through flowery words like a knife through butter. Something about Van Hollen's bill didn't sit right with him, and once Kennedy's gut told him to dig, he never stopped until he found the truth. "Mr. President," Kennedy began, his southern drawl steady yet carrying an edge, "I may talk slow, but I can read fast. And what I've read in this proposal, a broken bar, well, let's just say it don't smell like cornbread." A ripple of laughter moved through the chamber, but it died quickly as Kennedy leaned forward, his eyes never leaving Van Hollen. Buried beneath those 30 pages of protecting the middle class, Senator Van Hollen has slipped in a clause one that hands unprecedented power to unelected bureaucrats to control private businesses. They'll decide who gets a loan, who gets a contract, and who gets left out in the cold. This ain't about fairness, this is about control. The room shifted, papers rustled. Senators who hadn't been paying attention were now sitting up, eyebrows raised. Van Hollen shot back quickly, his voice laced with indignation. "That's a gross mischaracterization, Senator Kennedy. What you call a control is simply oversight to protect ordinary Americans from predatory corporations." Kennedy smiled faintly, the kind of smile that said he had expected that answer. "Oversight," he repeated. "Oversight is when you make sure the referee don't cheat. What you've written is when the referee gets to pick who plays in the game and who don't." Gasps filled the chamber. Some senators chuckled nervously, others whispered to their aides. But Kennedy wasn't done. He held up a document of Van Hollen's own draft. On page 23, subsection C, it reads clear as daylight: "ADA appointed authorities shall have the discretion to approve or deny participation based on subjective criteria deemed appropriate." Now, Senator, you and I both know a subjective criteria means whatever the man in charge feels that day. That's not democracy, that's tyranny with a necktie. Van Hollen's face flushed red. He tried to interject, but Kennedy's words rolled on, gathering momentum like a freight train. "I'm not here to make speeches sound pretty. I'm here to protect folks who don't have a lobbyist whispering in their ear. And those folks are farmers, truckers, small business owners are the ones you'd put under the thumb of a faceless Washington desk clerk." The chamber erupted. Some senators clapped softly, others jeered, while Van Hollen rose to his feet, voice rising with frustration. "You're twisting my intentions, Senator. This is about protecting the vulnerable, not attacking them." But Kennedy didn't flinch. He leaned back, his voice calm, deliberate, cutting through the noise like a blade. "Senator, if you want to protect the vulnerable, then don't build a system where the government gets to pick winners and losers, because history tells USA when that happens, the winners are the powerful, and the losers are always the little guy." The gallery, filled with citizens and press, buzzed like a beehive. Cameras flashed, pens scribbled, and the moment began to feel bigger than just two senators sparring. This was a showdown between two visions of America, one where freedom meant risk but also opportunity, and another where safety came at the price of independence. The longer the debate raged, the clearer it became Kennedy had struck a nerve. Van Hollen stumbled, dodged questions, and leaned on lofty rhetoric, but Kennedy kept dragging the argument back to plain truth. "You can put perfume on a pig," he quipped at one point, "but that don't make it a beauty queen." By the time Kennedy finished, the chamber was in chaos, half the room cheering, half grumbling, but none indifferent. Van Hollen slumped back into his seat, his carefully polished agenda now laid bare for all to see. Kennedy had exposed what few had noticed, and in doing so, He had forced the Senate and the National to confront what was truly at stake. Later that night, as the news replayed the fiery exchange, Americans across the country felt a surge of something rare: clarity. In a world of doublespeak and hidden deals, here was a man who refused to sugarcoat the truth, who spoke not to impress but to defend. For Kennedy, it wasn't about winning a debate, it was about standing up for the people who couldn't be in that room, the ones whose lives would be shaped by laws written in fine print. And as the echoes of that day settled, one message rang clear: in a democracy, truth still has the power to shake the walls of power, to expose hidden agendas, and to remind even the most polished politicians that the people are always watching.